Okay, let's take a look at the functionality to actually set the main image in the client now. So let's go back to VS Code, let's close everything down inside here. And we're going to start inside our member service as we need to create the method to call the API and set that main image. So just below the update member, I'm going to say set main photo. And this is going to take the photo ID, which is a number. And we're going to return list.http.put because we're updating a resource, and then say list.baseURL plus, and then we're going to go to users /set-main-photo / and then we're going to concatenate the photo ID onto this. And because it's a put request, then our HTTP client here does expect us to have something in the body, but we just need an empty body for this request. Our next destination is going to be the photo editor component. So we're going to open up the photo editor component and we'll create a new method inside here to set the main image. So just underneath the file over base seems like a good place as any. So I'm going to call a method set main photo, and this is going to take a photo of type photo. And inside here, we're going to use our member service. So we need to also inject that inside here as well. So I'm going to say private member service equals inject, and we'll inject the member service. And then inside our setMainPhoto method, we'll say this.memberService, and we'll call the setMainPhoto method, and this takes the photo.id, and then we can subscribe. And inside the subscribe method, we'll say next, and we're not going to have anything coming back because our API is returning a 204 no content. But we've got everything that we need to do this functionality inside our client. That's why we don't need our API to send back anything for this. So we're going to update two things here really. We need to update our account service, and we created a setCurrentUser method to do so inside there. And we also need to update our member, and we're going to use our output property to do that. So inside the next, we'll get hold of our user. So I'm going to say const user equals this.account service, and we'll get hold of the current user. We'll check to make sure we have the user. And if we do, we're going to say photo URL or user.photo_URL equals the photo.url. And then we'll say list.account service and set current user, and we'll pass in the user object. Below the if statement, we'll then say const updated member equals, and we'll get a copy of this.member, and it's an input property, so we need the parentheses there as it's a signal type of input property. And then we'll specify updated member.photo_URL equals photo.url, and then we'll specify updated member.photos, and then we'll loop over them. So we'll say for each, and we'll get each individual photo as p, and we'll check to see if p.isMain, and if it is, then we'll not set it to be main, so we'll say p.isMain equals false. And we'll check the other way, and we'll say if p.id is equal to photo.id, then we're going to set p.isMain equal to be true. And then below the if statements, we'll say list.memberChange.emit, and we'll pass in the updated member there. So once again, we're just admitting the event to update the parent component, so it can then pass down that information to the child component we're working in. And then we need to update our template, so we've got something to click on that's actually clickable. And we'll do that inside the main button, of course. And I'll just bring that down, and we'll give it some margin to the right, so ME-1. And let's just bring the class down inside here so I can go downwards rather than rightwards. We'll make it disabled if the photo.isMain. We'll give it a click event and say set main photo, and we'll pass through the photo. And we'll make use of ng-class to give it some conditional styling as well. And we'll check the photo is main property, and we'll use a ternary here. And we're going to say btn-success inside single quotes active. And to the right of the single quotes, we're going to have btn-outline-success. So we use a ternary basically to set the class depending on whether or not that is the main image. Now let's go across to our browser and test this functionality. Just go to Edit Profile and Edit Photos. And I can see that the main function, or the main button, that's disabled, and I can't click on this to change it. And what we want to see here, of course, is when I do click on one of these buttons, we want to see this image updating and the one in the nav bar as well. So let's give that a go. And that piece of functionality is working. We can indeed see that is the case. But what happens if we click on to see all of the matches? Does it also update that one? And logically, should it update that one at this moment based on what we've done? Because where do those members come from? Are they coming from the same places that we're updating right now? Well, I'm going to say no, because this is coming from our members service and we're getting a list of these photos. Whereas when we go to edit our profile, in fact, this one seems to have reset as well based on what's going on inside the members service. So we should also update the service as well and update the members array inside the signal inside the members service when we do set the main photo, because otherwise, because of the nature of what we're doing here, we could have a confused user thinking, hey, I've just updated my photo, why is it not reflecting when I go away and come back again without refreshing the page? Obviously, if we do refresh the page, then it's going to be updated to the main photo because we're getting that information from our API at that point. But let's take a look at why it's not having the desired effect when we do just edit our photos and select a different main photo like this. Of course, we'd like to see that reflected everywhere else. So let's go back to VS Code, and inside the members service where we're setting our main photo, we can also take the opportunity to update the members signal array, because when we do go and get an individual member, then that's where we're looking to go and get it. If we don't update that one, when we do go to a component that uses this function, then if that member is inside this array, then that's the one it's going to return. And that's what is happening, as we quite clearly saw. And also on the get members, then this will also use the signal rather than get the updated value from the API. So let's take a look at how we can update this when the user's main photo is updated. So currently in the set main photo, we're just taking the photo ID. We actually need the photo URL for this. So let's take the full photo rather than just its ID, and we'll swap that for photo. And then instead of photo ID here, that's going to have to be photo.id. And over in our photo editor component, we'll also need to pass the photo rather than just the ID. So inside the member service, we're going to need to do something similar to when we updated the member. So we'll once again use the pipe. Inside here, we'll use the tap so that we can add a side effect. And let's add the callback function inside here. So we're going to need to update the list.members, and we're going to use the update function, and we'll take in the members, the existing members, as a parameter, and we're going to loop over those members using the map function. And let's get hold of the member we're working on and access it using the M, just M for that. So we're going to check to see if the m.photos, and we'll use the includes the photo, because that's the member that we want to update if this photo is in their photo array. And if it is, then we're going to say m.photo URL is equal to the photo.url. And then we can return m. And what this should do is resolve that issue. So if I go back and let's just refresh the page and let's repeat the behavior that we just looked at. So I'll go and edit the profile, I'll edit the photos, I'll click on a different image to use as the main image. Once again, we update internally inside this component. But if we go back to our matches, then we can see this one is updated as well, and that will apply all the way through. So if I click on the user's photo, again, we've got consistency on that as well. And if we go and take a look at the images, and we can see that our gallery is now displaying all of the images. Maybe a bit too much black border around there for your liking. There is a small change we can make here as well. And if we go and take a look at the member detail component HTML, and inside the gallery where we're using NGX gallery, let's just add another property inside here, and we're going to use item auto size and just set that to true. And let's see the effect of that. And if we go back to the photos, then what we see is the photos line up next to each other. So there's not quite so much black border around this as it was before. So it's a better looking gallery as well. So now we've implemented the setting of the main photo. Next, we'll take a look at how we can delete an image.